We're talking about situations where the market looks like it should work. It looks like it's got all the characteristics that would allow it to fit a competitive outcome. And we understood how well the competitive outcome held up to the standards of the benevolent dictator in terms of maximizing the size of the pie. But, of course, when we did the competitive model, one of the four conditions, the last of the four we put on the slide, was perfect information, and we don't always have perfect information. In this particular case, we want to talk about a situation called the market for lemons. The market for lemons is a very famous problem in economics. It was first written about by an economist from Berkeley named George Akerlof. Akerlof is a Nobel laureate. And George Akerlof and the market, let's say the market for lemon problem, worries about something called asymmetric information. Some market participants have more or better information than others. Sometimes that's not a big deal. I got a tree in my backyard, really proud of this tree. It's getting a little, I think it's a little under the weather. It's been around for a long time. It's a beautiful flowering crabapple, kind of the centerpiece of around my patio. I call a guy in who's a tree expert. He comes and he looks at it, and he says, "Oh, Larry, your tree's really sick, but I can fix it. It's going to cost you $3,000 for the treatment." Well, that's a lot of money, but there's a lot of asymmetry of information there. This person's a tree expert. I'm just an academic economist. So what are we going to do here? Well, it turns out in markets like that, I can do things pretty simply. I can get a second opinion. I can call up a couple more people out of the yellow pages to come and have them give me an estimate. And eventually I can figure out, was that guy talking about something that was straight shooting, or was in fact he trying to exploit the fact that he had informational advantages on me? Sometimes these informational advantages are bad. There are laws in this country against insider trading in the stock market. Some people think that there are laws so that people can't make money in an unequal way, that it's unfair that they're making this money because they know something about the company that you don't. That's, I'm sure some people think of it that way, but to an economist, one of the big things about the reason we don't want insider trading is that if traders get a general idea that there are people out there in the market trading who know more than they do from an insider point of view, that if some broker calls up and says, "Hey, I got somebody who wants to buy your shares in IBM," and you say, "Oh, I wonder why they want to do that. What do they know that I don't know?" And you could start sort of saying, no, I don't think so. Or, "Hey, I got somebody here who wants to sell you some Google stock." You say, "Well, why do they want to get rid of their Google stock? What do they know I don't know?" So the problem with insider trading is it can sometimes make a market dry up. Nobody wants to make transactions because they're not sure if they're getting a fair deal. Now that's kind of what happens here in the market for lemons, but not the same problem. So to motivate this story, obviously we're not talking about lemons as in little yellow sour produce. We're talking about products that basically aren't right from the get-go. They come off the shop floor and they're a lemon, and you think of mostly in automobiles. And there's sort of what's often referred to as the curbside depreciation. When you drive a new car off the lot, you can just drive it over the weekend and drive it back on Monday and say, I realized I just don't have as much money as I thought. I think I probably not want this car. It's going to be a pretty hefty depreciation just for 3 days because that car had a half a mile on it. The distance it took for the dealer to drive it from where the truck dumped it off to where they cleaned it all up and back to the lot. You, however, have put on about 150 miles over the weekend, and now suddenly you want to get rid of it. So you have a great asymmetry of information over the dealer. You know a lot about this car now. You've driven it all weekend. And the dealer is going to be a little bit concerned about, why is it this person wants to get rid of this new car? That's the problem that Akerlof was looking at. Okay. So to think about this market for lemons, let's talk about, suppose you have a desire to buy a 1968 Dodge Dart. It's always been sort of the car of your dreams to get your hands on one of those 68 Dodge Darts, classic car. You do your homework. You go out and you look in Consumer Reports and you see that right now, given the sort of stable of Dodge Darts that are out there being driven around in the country, there's about half of them are in good condition and half are in bad condition. 50-50 probability, whether it's good or bad. Now, you also find out from pricing sources such as Edmunds or Blue Books that if it's a good condition 68 Dodge Dart, it's worth $100. If it's a bad condition 68 Dodge Dart, it's worth $50. You got all that information and you're just kind of cruising around, your eyes always open, thinking you might find one. And sure enough, one day you're driving through town, there on this driveway is a beautiful 68 Dodge Dart, sort of a nice tan color, sign on the windshield that says for sale. You pull in, you walk up and ring the doorbell, and the owner comes out, and you say, hey, I'm interested in your Dodge Dart. And she says, sure, let's talk about it. She goes down. Now, if it's good condition, it's worth 100. That's a 50% chance. If it's bad condition, it's worth 50. That's a 50% chance of that. So the expected value is 75. That would be a fair bid. That would be a fair bid. That's the expected value of that car. But you figure, well, you know what? I'm going to put this bid in and see what happens. So you say, oh, I'll see if I can get a little bit off that fair, see what she says. So you bid 70. She thinks about that 70 bid and says, if the car is good value, she says immediately, no. If the car is bad value, she's saying, well, let's see, I can get 70 in cash from him. This thing's only worth 50 to me, I'm doing it, and takes the offer. And as soon as she takes the offer, you begin to realize, oh, wait a minute. She's been driving that car for the last 10 years. She actually knows whether it's good or bad. There's no expected value for her. She knows the actual truth of that. It's a $100 car or a $50 car. When I come in and make this bid, it's just not going to happen. I'm always going to end up at the wrong end unless I actually bid less than the value. In this case, the asymmetric information means that sometimes markets just dry up. The market for lemons is an example where we just can't come to a reasonable bid.